Hey folks, Rabbit Roars here, and we are currently in my survival Let's Play 1.14 world, the Villager and Pillager update. And I settled near a village. You may have too, thinking, ooh, fantastic. What fun. I'll check out the new mechanics. Maybe you thought, like I did, that if you built a wall around your village, see said wall, that your villagers would be safe. You'll notice, though, that there's no villagers except one lonely little guy over here. Where are you, sir? Hello, one tiny little villager. Hello, sir. You're working hard, I see. And a pile of golems. Why is this the case? Well, when I first started up this world, I settled over near that mountain after I had mined a bit, as one does early game. Well, all game, really. But I had a bunch of cobblestone. I built a wall, and I thought, oh, okay, great. When I want to start a raid, I will engage with one of the patrols, and I'll have this wall up, and if any patrols come by the wall and my golems that the villagers spawned, I didn't make those golems, the villagers that I had, will keep my village safe. Yeah, that's not the case. And in this tutorial, I am going to, try to explain the mechanics of how the patrols work. We're not talking raids. We're talking the patrols. And that was a distinction that I did not make, and it seems like maybe other people are not making. The mechanics of the patrols, some of which seem a little wonky, like some of what you read on the wiki does not, the Minecraft wiki, does not appear to be absolutely true. Could be wrong. But there's some areas that appear a little gray. And the solution that I'm going to have for this is not a way to get rid of the patrols. It's a game mechanic. And if you're playing in survival, a patrol is not something that you can stop from happening in Java unless you use a command block. Or if you're in Bedrock, you can use a command, and I'll show you that later, to stop patrols from spawning. You have to be aware of the patrols if you want villagers to survive. Because the way it's set up now, as of this is May 2019, villagers are gonna die. They're gonna die. The patrols are way overpowered, and the golems try to handle, but as you see, I didn't start a raid. I did not start a raid. I was very careful not to start a raid. And yet still, a patrol came through and massacred my village. I've got one little villager left. Let's talk definitions too. Pillager patrols, also known as Illager patrols. So there's some name differences for these patrols. I'm not really clear why, except that the mechanics of them spawning in Java, hi chicken, and or in Bedrock are slightly different, although it ends up kind of just being the same. Anywho, in Java, these guys seem to be called, when they're grouped like this, in a patrol, although this isn't technically a patrol because we don't have a raid leader, but I don't know how to spawn a whole raid, just saying. In Java, they're called Illager patrols. In Bedrock, they're called Pillager patrols. They're naturally spawning. It happens after 5 in-game days. Again, like I said, there's some differences. You can look it up in the wiki. But essentially, after 5 in-game days, whether you're in Java or in Bedrock, the possibility of a patrol of these guys occurs. And let's see, one of the main differences between Bedrock and Java is that in Bedrock, you can spawn like 2 to 5 of these guys, combo of these guys, either Pillagers or Vindicators. The Vindicators being the little badasses, let me just say, they're harsh. It can spawn like 2 to 5 in a patrol, and in Java it's going to be, I believe it's 4 to 5, but it seems mostly just 5. Anywho, like I was saying before, one can make the mistake of thinking, oh, a Pillager raid is something that you do by engaging with a raid captain, which would one of these guys would have a banner above his head. You would engage in combat, and you would slay him. One of them, the captain, he would die, and you would get a debuff, I guess, or you'd get a status that meant that the next time that you went into your village, or any village, a raid would start. Ooh, go team, status effect. Raid would start. And then, depending on what difficulty you were on, various raids or successions of these guys would start coming in. You'd get waves of them attacking you. After 5 in-game days, these guys can spawn. And the spawning seems maybe a little different than the wiki says. Like the wiki has, and I'll put it up on screen, different spawning, like, oh, it can only spawn on these blocks and in these biomes, and it's slightly different in Java than it is in Bedrock. Blah, de blah, blah, blah. Here is the key thing. They do seem to spawn on blocks that they're not supposed to spawn on. And I've seen this. Like, I have seen a patrol spawn, not seen it spawn, but it's in my world, and I'll have one of the patrol up here on a roof. Well, they're not supposed to be able to spawn. That's not one of the blocks they say they spawn on. It says they spawn on, usually on some sort of like grass or sand. Look at the wiki, or I'll have it up on screen. You can pause and look. But yeah, no, I've totally been getting these guys spawning up on the roof. Some of them down on the ground, some up on the roof. I have a guess. My guess is that when a patrol spawns, perhaps the leader is designated as, hey, look, the leader can spawn on the proper block, but the other guys can spawn elsewhere and it's still considered valid, so you can end up with a non-leader guy. Like, I've never had a leader spawn on the roof. So that's my guess as to what's happening, but just saying. The other thing is, you build up a wall, that's not going to help you with patrol spawning. No, it is not. I am having patrols spawn within the walls. Do I know the reason why? I think this is some guessing. It doesn't really matter for this tutorial because it's not necessarily the point of the tutorial. I think it's this kind of thing, which is I think they can be pulled in by other mobs. So let's say you don't have walls up. A patrol is passing by and you've got a villager wandering, and they do seem to wander more in 1.14. Like, look at this guy. What you doing so far from your village? Just saying. Maybe you want to go back over there. Anywho, so if you have a patrol coming by and they see an iron golem, or they see a villager, or they see you, or they see, what else do they respond? A hostile mob. It can drag them into your village. And these guys are squishy. They are squishy. And their mechanics have changed just a little bit. And their ability to stay safe, not so great. They get stuck really easy. Like, they get stuck on tables. Oh my gosh, they get stuck in water like nobody's business. Same with the iron golems. They'll come over into the water and you'll just see them spinning in the water. They're supposed to go to their beds at night. Even if I have the correct number of beds in my village, like you might think, oh, there's not enough beds. I put in a pile of beds in my village, and I'll still have villagers that are just hanging on outside at night, not going inside. Yeah, dangerous. Just saying, dangerous. The other thing they seem to do, like, let's say a patrol gets dragged in. These guys don't always shut the door behind them when they go to sleep. I don't know why. I thought it was me at first. I made a point of going and shutting all the doors. Nope. They don't seem to always remember to shut the door. In fact, they often seem to not shut the door. And that makes some easy pickings for any patrol that happens to get into the village. These golems, they're great. They're great. Love them. Love these guys. But they can be a little wonky. They can get stuck. They can wander off. Why? The iron golems are pretty good at fighting, but they can get over... Dude, really? What are you doing here? It used to be that villages were defined by doors. Okay? Or partially. That was a main component. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. The case now seems to be if you have a bed and you have a villager, one of you guys, and that villager claims the bed, which they will because they do sleep at night. Sometimes they stay up during the night, but they tend to sleep. You have a village. So that's the definition of a village. One of these guys, one of these. You don't need You don't need walls. You don't need doors. You don't need buildings. You don't even need that new bell for there to be a village. Okay, so we have another definition we need to get into. There's another new, I'm going to call it a mechanic. Dish baby here, the bell. Okay, so the bell, new in 1.14, defines the gathering site of the village, okay? And when I say the gathering site, there actually can be multiple gathering sites in a village. And what the bell does is there needs, or how you define a gathering site is it has to be within a village boundary. You have to have this bell, and you have to have one claimed bed, not just a bed that a villager has claimed as their own, and then you have a gathering site. Okay, and the gathering site is where the villagers tend to mingle. I think the wiki said will mingle here when they're not doing their jobs. Yeah, I don't know. I have seen behavior that really looked like, look, over here. These guys over here. They're not, there's no bell. There's no bed, and yet this appears to be mingling to me. They appear to be chit-chatting, talking, not at their job site, not making little baby villagers. I think this is gossiping. But anywho, they do seem to tend to go over and meet at this bell at least once per day. This also tends to be, not definitely, but tends to be where the wandering trader shows up, which is another mob, peaceful mob, that a patrol will attack. So that's another way to drag a patrol into your village, right? So here comes the wandering villager with his little llamas, comes over to your gathering site, and booyah, that process of him coming over can bring a patrol over too. In terms of definition, okay, so gathering site, the other thing to realize is if you're looking for the center of your village, thinking, oh, I'll put walls. The wiki says something like, 32 blocks away from the center of the village, and the center is defined such and such. I'm going to put the definitions up. eventually on screen. But here's the thing. You may make the mistake of thinking, the gathering site has to be the center of the village. No. Gathering site can visually look like it's in the center. It could have been placed here, right? No. It just has to be within the village boundaries. It could have been placed over here. It could be over here where these guys seem to be all happy, joy. Nowhere near their job sites. Just saying. The gathering site does not define the center of your village. Also, the village radius. We're getting into an area that is a little iffy for me, that I am not great on defining. Sorry, I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but someone else might have a better time at doing the math around this. Also, it seems like the math is contradictory, but I'm not saying definitely. This is not my forte. But I'll put it up on the screen. The definitions of a village radius, the two that I found, they seem contradictory. I'm not sure. The basic idea seems to be that a claimed bed and a 32 block distance from said claimed bed, and that the radius of a village can change as the claimed beds change. If a villager dies, if more villagers come in, the radius can change. Let's start talking protection. Technically, it's don't be near it. Yeah, be out of chunk range, or where the chunks aren't loading over there, and where you're not close enough. What is it? A 200 block radius in Java. I'm not sure what the radius away from the player is in Bedrock. I think it's less. I think it's like 32 blocks away from the player. It doesn't matter. Let's assume 200. Make sure you're at least 200 blocks away from your village and do your Minecrafting there. You are probably still going to have to deal with patrols. I've had patrols spring up near me, and as far as I could tell, I was not close to a village. Again, not absolutely tested out, but I've read other people saying this. It seems like it's wonky. So you may still have to deal with patrols, but at least your villagers are not being massacred. So that is the first solution to the patrol issue. Another solution, I'm not going to do it currently. Another solution is don't be in the overworld. Yeah. As far as I know, as far as I've seen, they do not spawn in the Nether or in the End. Now you have other issues there, but you could rather than have a naturally spawning village, you could spawn or create a village. Bring villagers to the End or bring them to the Nether. There'd be other dangers there, but I do not believe you'd have to deal with patrols. Go team. That is a possibility. Another possibility is Mushroom Islands. Yeah, Mushroom Islands. Hostile mobs don't spawn. Again, haven't been able to completely test it out yet, Guy, but that is supposed to be the mechanic. It's worked before. It should work now. Create a village on a mushroom island. You could also put mushroom blocks down in your village. The only problem with that is you could still have patrols spawning on nearby blocks that aren't mushrooms. So if you're going to do the mushroom route, probably creating a village on a mushroom island is a very, very safe way of keeping your villagers alive and not having to deal with the patrols in your survival world. First thing, I know I was talking about how walls are not effective. they're not absolutely effective. This is my first solution, is you build yourself a wall. You build yourself a wall, because the thing that this is going to help with is the patrols being pulled in just by, like, let's say a patrol spawns over here, which it could, it could totally spawn right over here, and these villagers are hanging out over here, and the patrol gets pulled over. Okay, if you have the wall, they're still going to be aware of the villagers, I believe, but they're not going to be able to just wander in. Okay, so yes, build your wall. Absolutamente. Also, make that wall high enough so that, I actually use cobblestone walls, but you don't have, use a block. I mean, y'all know how to build walls. But just in case you were wondering, I don't literally mean it has to be cobblestone walls. It can be dirt if you want it to be dirt. You tend to have a lot of cobblestone at the very beginning of a world, and it was the material I used because I had a pile of it. Build yourself a wall, make it high enough that on the outside, because patrols don't, as far as I know, don't tend to spawn right smack in the middle. That's not definite, but this is going to help you with where they seem to frequently spawn, which is on the outside or right on the edge of a village. Not contradicting what I said earlier. They seem to also be able to spawn inside. It just doesn't seem as frequent. Okay, so solution 1, and like I said, you should use multiple solutions, are build your wall. Okay, keep your villagers happy. If your villagers are happy and gossiping, they will spawn. They have a possibility of spawning golems. The golems do help. Make sure the golems are inside the wall, and they do help. They're not perfect. They get stuck, etc., etc. But having the golems inside will help. And this, so far, is the least, although it's work intensive, the least work intensive issue or way of keeping these guys safe that we have. But again, not completely safe. Here is one of the best suggestions I have. Get yourself 2 villagers. Get yourself 2 villagers, and you make sure that these babies are safe. I mean, safe. You don't open their doors. You make sure that where they are is well lit. You make sure that you have these 2 villagers. These are going to be your Adam and Eve, or your Adam and Adam, however, or your Eve and Eve, however. But these are going to be the 2 villagers that you have saved somewhere safe. Hi guys. Yeah, you guys. You guys are the key to keeping this village alive. Because if your village gets attacked, and if for whatever reason all your other defenses fail, and we're going to talk about more defenses, you've got your seed villagers. You've got your villagers who will help you repopulate your world, and you don't have to try and figure out how to drag them in from another village. Yes, you can go to another village, and you can, if all your villagers die, you can bring them in. So if you have some forethought, if you've watched this tutorial, or if you've just been smart, yeah, make sure that you wall up 2 villagers. Some people would not even do what I just did here, would think that the safer idea would be to consider the possibility of a zombie siege too. And so what they would do is put the 2 villagers like truly in a place where you're not going to be able Like you could do something like this. You could go underground. Because the problem with the siege, a bucket of water, the siege zombies is that they will spawn. They don't spawn on transparent blocks, but they can spawn on the blocks underneath transparent blocks. Aren't they clever? So you can set up, light this baby up. I have the half slab on the lower slab, so nothing is it's considered a transparent block, and there's water underneath, which means my understanding is that even siege zombies cannot spawn. If you were really, it doesn't have to be a block of iron, wanting to save these guys, you know, you'd put them in an area like this. You could put them perhaps up in the air. Okay, so multiple layers of glass. So if a siege zombie did try to spawn this high, it wouldn't be able to spawn in a block underneath the blocks that your seed... I love calling them my seed zombies. Yes, that's making me happy. Your Adam and Eve zombies, whatever you want to call them. Your they shall not die zombies. They protect them at all cost zombies, unless you want to be dragging them from parts unknown. Zombies are safe, sound, happy, with, in this case, a very nice view of the world. They're like, we're not happy, we're trapped. Okay, so here's another option. Less likely creeper explosion. Okay, guys. There you are. Look, how nice. Lovely. Ooh. And, actually what I wanted to do was something like that. Okay, they're up high. They have transparent blocks, multiple levels underneath them. Those guys should be safe. Maybe have multiples of your seed villagers. You know, like I did here. You buried them, you put them up high, yay. Go team. My next suggestion is to concentrate... Oh, this is cool. Not in... Oops. Concentrate your job blocks and your beds in a controlled area. I am currently going through this village and just making sure, well, that I'm taking all the beds or destroying all the beds, and that if I find a job site, I am taking or destroying those job sites. Concentrate your job sites and concentrate your the beds into a very focused area. We're going to concentrate the beds. Okay, and we are going to make a constrained wall. We're going to get the wall close to the buildings. Okay, and I am going to include a gathering site, not this one I think, in this constrained area. Also, just in terms of the villagers being able to get to their beds easily, and the golems being able to defend the villagers, it's probably better to have the village be easy to move around in. These guys will get stuck. Do we have... Yeah, like pools of water? Yeah, totally get stuck in pools of water. Tables, villagers, it hasn't happened to me. I read something where a guy was talking about how his villagers were constantly, if there was a table in a building, getting stuck on that. So try to flatten out the pathways a little bit, make it easy for the golems to get make sure that your water is filled in, why not just put them in a building or glass each one up individually? And I've seen people do that before, like do that and... Okay, so that villager, yeah, is trapped. Okay, so I've seen that. I've seen where people have trapped the villager this way. Now, here's the problem to my mind with doing this, with truly just trapping a villager and going, oh great, when I need to trade or some such, I can just come up and I can either get rid of this block or put a block, you know, like a trapdoor that I could flip down and up. But the thing is with the new mechanics, with the gossiping and stuff like that, you want your villagers to interact. And you want them to gather. Now, I guess you could make them all hang out inside. That is a possibility. You know, create like one large building that they all hang out in. That'll keep them safer, but you definitely, like, this, I guess, is okay for like maybe your most precious villager, you know, like really putting them in, you know, like you've got one with perfect trades. Yeah, you block that baby up. But you do want these guys gossiping for a while at least, because gossiping is the way that you improve your reputation, and the way that, well, it's not the only way. You improve your reputation by doing trades, by protecting these guys. But then they talk to each other and gossip happens, and then your reputation goes up and prices decrease. That's my understanding of the new mechanic. So unless these guys can chit-chat with each other, that's not going to happen. Okay, oh, another thing I was doing over here was, so you want to weigh in, right? Doors no good. Pillagers and villagers can open doors, and since we know that villagers are dumb and will open the door and let patrols come in, you do not want to do that. Gates are supposed to work. Villagers and pillagers supposedly do not open gates, so that's one way to make sure that they don't get in and out. Another possibility is what I was doing over here. There's all sorts of possibilities for how to do this, but you could do, like, let's say you had a wall here. Yes, I'm using a transparent block that can break very easily. Yay! Okay, let's say you didn't do this in glass, though. Let's say you had your wall here. Come in. And you could set something up. You could use redstone. You could set up like just a little sneaky way of getting into your village, you know, close behind you. You could do that sort of thing. Maybe having multiple sites like this in your village. So like you set up one and then maybe move some of the villagers down here and have another wall with villagers doing their thing over here. Then maybe, you know, if your village is large enough, have a third wall. Then maybe wall that whole thing in so you have circles, you know, circles of walls within walls. Another possibility I saw was creating bait. So like having a villager that the patrols can see, like out, like contained somewhere. Like, so let's say, so you have a little area here, and let's have a villager in here, maybe a couple. So you set up something where they can't shoot. It's on the outside of your village proper. It attracts the patrol, and then you have, you know, like iron golems out here. Maybe you yourself come out, and it maybe you have some sort of redstone mechanic that, you know, suddenly lava flows out. You get what I'm saying. Maybe, you know, have an a wall. The other thing you can do, you can set up a dispenser let me do that. Little kitty cat. And you can equip your villagers with armor. And once you equip them with armor, try to do the best armor you can. It may be a thing of it's early game for you and you don't have a lot, but you have a dispenser. Yay! You don't have a lot of diamonds though, so they get iron armor. See if you can get thorns. Thorns really important because if they get hit, it's going to damage whatever hit them. So, a couple other suggestions that to my mind fall more in the cheat category, but you might want to consider it. So like right now, if I was in a survival world, there are ways, even if you've already established your world in survival, to go back and forth between creative, and you can look that up. But like right now I'm in creative, I could switch over game mode, and there's ways to do this both in Bedrock and in Java. This is how you do it in Java, game mode survival. Woo, we're in survival. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to jump around. Alright, so currently we are in survival, and let's say a patrol showed up and I was like, oh noses, how I defend? I am just weak and unprepared. I just have this diamond sword. Well, what I could do is go, yep, don't want to deal with that. Go back into creative and kill off the mob, and then go back to survival. This will not work in my game, but this is supposed to work in Bedrock version, which is you do, you say, hold up, mob event Minecraft Pillager underscore patrols, what's the next part, underscore event false. Okay, so if you were in Bedrock, this would be a command that would work. I believe you have to have cheats enabled to be able to do this. I'm not positive. I don't play in Bedrock a lot. So again, something you're going to have to look out, try out yourself if this is something you want to do. But you can, you have the option of saying, you know what, I don't want pillager patrols. Nope. And then if you wanted them to come back, you'd type this back in, but you'd set it to true rather than false. But that's an option. And another option, and also it's not something I can show you at all because it's not something I have worked on before or done, etc., which is you can do command blocks. And you're going to have to look up how to do it, but I did read where someone said, oh, what I did was I set up a command block in my survival world, which you can do, take some finagling. Set up a command block, a repeating command block that recognized when pillagers and vindicators were in the area and transported said pillagers and vindicators to the void. Okie doke. So, yeah. Good luck, guys. If you want to check out my Let's Play, yes, I'm doing a shameless plug, but I also am going to try implementing this, well, not so quickly, not so in such an ugly way, but implementing some of this in my survival world so that I can have some happy villagers doing their gossiping, be able to trade with them and not have to worry about the wretchedness of patrols. Hey dude. So and there's probably other ways of protecting your villagers. I just came up with some of the some really basic solid ways, and good luck. And if I leave you with one idea, the idea is, oh my god, it's important to have backups. Backup villagers.